Okay guys, it's the middle of the night and we are bringing you the next update. Now I'm going to be finishing up the gun and I'm going to be doing some really good video with it tomorrow in the daylight where you can see it. But it's 1:18 in the morning at the moment. So here is the stripped gun with the brass trigger guard put into place. Okay, I want you to see that up close. I want to see how that trigger guard antiqued. Now all I did was, like I said, I sat it inside of that ammo box with 1 tablespoon of table salt into about probably a 1/4 inch of vinegar in the bottom of the box, and then the actual trigger guard was sitting on top of a spacer, so it was not in the water, it was just the fumes. I gave it 8 hours, and that is antiqued it and yellowed it and made it look, you know, like an old piece of brass. That's the idea. Now the body is now completely stripped and it's ready for me to start applying the bluing and aging it a little bit with that. And we're going to be doing that. But what I want to talk about right now is the grip. Now the grip, as I told you, I had an obstacle. I had brought out my easy off trying to strip it and it just didn't work. And so I went to a second method. And that second method was the citrus strip stuff that you get for stripping. This is good stuff. It didn't work. I put it on there and left it for nearly an hour. And with a Scotch-Brite pad, it was as if I had put nothing on it. So I went to sanding and scraping, and I got the old finish off. That's what we were after. Apparently whatever they're using now is a much stronger material, probably a polyurethane, I'm betting. And because of that, it does not strip easier. I may have to use something like acetone to get it off, but we'll experiment in the future with that. For right now, let's get on with this project. Now what I've done is I have taken the grip after I have stripped it. I have taken a Scotch-Brite pad. I have taken a sanding block. And I took the sanding block and I went over any rough places. Now remember I talked about it was a little proud here, it was whatever. I went and addressed those with this to make sure it was absolutely fitting onto my frame. Exactly like I wanted onto the frame itself. Now having said that, let me discuss something else. Colt had a unique grip, okay? Now this is Stormborn. When you actually look up close, the left hand, holding the gun this way, the left hand panel is slightly thinner than the right hand panel. This fits the hand a certain way, and what they call the Colt's grip. Yeah, it looks like a plow handle, but the geometry of it is kind of special. There's a little bit more of a swell here. This grip is a little thicker here, it's a little thinner there, and it's just the way it fits the palm better and makes it feel more comfortable. None of the replicas do that because that's very time consuming, and it's usually the same on the left and the right hand side. Well, me shaping this, after I got it, I sanded it to complete that. Now my right grip panel and my left grip panel are slightly different in thickness, and it feels like the Colt feel to it. It has the Colt swell, the Colt grip, the way it feels. It feels more like Stormborn does. So I have got my brass trigger guard antiqued. I'm ready to blue this and get it in the process. And now I'm going to do my grip. Now what am I going to use to stain the grip? There are several things you can use, and it depends on the wood. Now this, being a slightly higher cut Uberti, came with better wood to begin with. This is a relatively dark European walnut. Now let me show you an up close. Okay, that's what it looks like after I have sanded it, etc. Now this is the color that I've started staining it, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But if you've got a really light wood, and I have seen on some of the cheap replicas, it's obviously birch. I mean, when you sand it down, it's white wood. you have to use certain tricks to darken it. And one of the things I like to use is shoe leather dye. It's usually water-based, and it penetrates better into the wood than some of the oil ones do. And I'm going to follow this up with an oil finish. So I want to put it so it penetrates into the wood. I don't want it merely on the surface. I want it in the wood. Okay? And so a dark leather dye, and I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby. The particular one of this is called Leather Color, and it's called, put your eyes on so you can see, old man. Dark brown, very original name. That's what I'm using. Now I'm simply taking a small piece of folded up cloth and I'm wetting down the material and I'm letting it absorb. I've done this side, I have not done this side. I will probably do 3 coats of this. Then I will lightly go over it with steel wool, triple-aught steel wool. Just in case any fibers were raised, I want to smooth them down. And then I'm going to make the transition over to my oil finish. Now what the oil finish that I will be using is this. I went to the craft department where they sell painting supplies, like for oil on canvas, you know, artsy type stuff. And this is refined linseed oil. This is made for making paints, to make oil-based paints. This is a little more refined linseed oil than the one that you find at the hardware store. And I have found over the years it works better. Now, I'm going to apply that a drop at the time. You don't paint it on, okay? It's a little watery, more watery, I should say, or thinner would be a better word to say, than the hardware store brand. But it penetrates better. And see, I've just used a water-based dye to put onto this. Now, when this gets the coating I want, I'll let it sit for maybe an hour. Make sure it's dry, but not truly dry. Okay? So like I said, after that last coat has had about an hour to dry, that's when I'm going to start putting the linseed oil onto it. I'm going to put a few drops, I'm going to rub it in. I'm going to put a few drops, I'm going to rub it in. Making sure I get inside as well. The parts you don't see inside the grip need to be especially coated because moisture can get in and crack your grip. I want my grip completely sealed. Okay? Once I get a good coating on the inside, and the inside I will actually take like a little brush and paint and let it absorb. Give it a little bit, add a little bit more. When it gets where it don't want to absorb, I will dry it off with a rag, hang it up, see I've got a coat hanger rigged up as a wire, and let it dry overnight. Then I'll come back and start applying more finish to the outside, a few drops at a time. I'll put a drop on and I'll rub it by hand with my hand. Hence the term hand rubbed oil finish. That's what they mean. Heat generated by my hand helps dry the oil, and it soaks into the wood until the wood becomes so saturated with it, it is virtually solid. And that type of grip lasts forever. And that's what I'm going for. But more importantly, it looks correct for the piece and for what I'm trying to go for. So, after saying this update, I'm going to be posting it tonight. Hopefully, either late Sunday or more likely Monday, I will be posting a follow-up video with the gun blued, with the trigger guard done, with the oil grips going, and you'll get to see what she looks like. Okay? Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and thank you for all the good comments. I'm glad that many of you are following along with this and want to antique your own guns. And I hope that it gives you some ideas. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.